Hello and welcome to Ashtabula Hobby Talk. My name is Nemo, KE8PVL, president of Amigos Radio Club Ashtabula and amateur radio enthusiast.
I am Rykus, comic book enthusiast, owner of Captain's Comics.
And we're welcome to the show. This is episode 2, and we're going to keep on going. We got a bunch of cool stuff happening that we're planning for the rest of the show. Hopefully, we'll get it all together for you.
Filling up the calendar pretty quick.
Yeah. So we'll be bringing some guests in, and we're going to try and get out to do some location work. But in the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Ruckus because he's got some pretty cool stuff on the comic books. Sort of a little follow up to last week, but also all subject all by itself.
Well, before I get into comics, I want to talk a little bit about movies because we all know I'm a big movie fan.
Me too.
I've watched a movie called Pulp Fiction by one of my favorite directors. I got into really quick as a kid was Quentin Tarantino, and there's a scene in there that got deleted, and I've watched it several times in my extended cut. But there was this quote that I kind of think is true to a lot of things. I think Quentin Tarantino thinks it's true because I think he written into several other movies, but I'm not quite sure. It might be in True Romance. But he compared Elvis to the Beatles and the fan base that follows them. He's essentially saying you can love Elvis and you can love the Beatles, but there's no one person that's going to like them equally. And he was comparing that to someone in the movie, and it was a way for him to decide this character of how to engage in conversation with the main character. And I think that holds base on a lot of things, not just Elvis and Beatles, but I think if I had to choose, I'd be an Elvis fan.
Okay. Man, I'm not sure. I guess we'd have to say which Elvis and which Beatles.
Now, this whatever you answer does say a lot about who you are.
I would have to say it depends on which Elvis and which Beatles, because I liked the early Beatles and I liked the early Elvis. But when they started getting into the psychedelic stuff with the Beatles and when Elvis put on 300 pounds, I guess I could say maybe both of them. But
I think overall, in a whole, I think you would.
I guess I would have to say I would have to choose Elvis because he's the only one I've seen in concert.
You seen Elvis in concert?
Yeah, I was probably 3.
It's still awesome.
But my parents took me to see him. It was one of the last concerts in Cleveland that he did, and I can barely remember back that far. It's been dating myself here a little bit, but yeah, I have seen him. I know for a fact that I was at an Elvis concert.
That's awesome. I never seen either one of them in concert.
Well, maybe one day.
Yeah, they're doing these AI generated shows. I think Kiss is starting to do everything in. Their last show they did was 3D, so they can generate themselves. And 100 years from now, you can go see a Kiss concert.
Oh, don't get me started on that. That's a whole technological rabbit hole that we're not going to go down today.
Right. So my basis is you can apply that to almost everything in the comic book world. Are you a Marvel fan? Are you a DC fan? And I started talking about this a little bit last episode with the crossovers. There's a couple of big crossovers that Marvel and DC did. One was a Justice League versus the Avengers, and I talked about that. And the one where they merged everything. So you had Batman merging with Wolverine, and they made like a whole amalgam world of these two mixtured peoples to combine into one. But it's just kind of ironic how a lot of these team ups happen. There's been a couple of them like Star Trek and X-Men. You wouldn't think that'd be a good team up, but
Sacrilege.
Oh, you don't think that'd be great?
I'm sure it was fine for some people to read, but as a Star Trek fan, they're just two different multiverses. They don't really have anything to do with each other.
The only thing that I had a gripe was the time difference. See, Chris Claremont brought the X-Men into the space with the Shi'ar and all the intergalactic, the Dark Phoenix and all that stuff. So they were already exploring the outer spheres.
But it would seem to me that all it would take is Q. None of you have powers anymore. You're all done.
Oh, Phoenix can do the same thing. She destroyed planets.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the planet killer superhero class. That's true. But, I mean, Farscape. Or wait, what was that? The first one. Farpoint. Farpoint Station. The creature from Farpoint that was Farpoint Station. Come on, man. That's a planet killer. It didn't, but it could have.
Okay, fair point. But I mean, you have all these other ones like Hulk, Batman. You ever see that one?
I've seen a Hulk Superman, I think. I remember a Hulk Superman.
There was a Hulk Superman?
In like a 3x3 one. Yeah.
I think you actually brought in a Batman versus Hulk to me.
I did. One of the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And an Avengers one too, I think. Maybe I just had the cover for that. But no, it was an old Superman. And I just had the cover. But yeah, I did bring the Batman and Hulk one in, now that you mention it.
Okay. Yeah. I remember having that and cleaning it up and putting it up for sale. And we did sell, two of those came into my comic book store at separate times. But what I'm building up is there's going to be another big crossover with Marvel and DC. And it's looking to gain momentum really quick.
Is that why Marvel dropped their per page price for their artists? Because they had to match DC?
Marvel's been doing a lot of crazy things. The whole comic book industry is shooken up with Diamond. So, I mean, I think everyone and every publisher is just trying to find ground and their footing to see where things land.
Well, that's a whole other subject, and we'll have to get into that on a later show.
That is going to take up a whole episode of just Diamond and their fiascos.
Yeah, I've been following that saga. Just downhill run, whatever landslide you want to call it.
I was lucky enough to jump off of Diamond when I had a chance, and I did, and I don't regret it.
Well, hey, I'm not trying to pull you off topic, but yeah, so big crossovers coming up.
And it's starting out with Batman and Deadpool.
That'd be an interesting combination. Are they together or at each other's throats?
Well, I mean,
Deadpool kind of pisses everybody off. So.
We're gonna have to find out. I mean, so far the title is Batman and Deadpool. I don't think there's a versus or a and in there. It's just Batman and Deadpool.
All right. Well, that'd be
it's going to be published underneath DC, and the next issue is going to be Deadpool and Batman, and that's going to be published underneath Marvel. And they did this before. I mean, the whole versus back in the late 90s, they kind of switched hands. DC would publish one issue, then Marvel would publish the other one, and then they just could do this back and forth dance.
Well, it sounds exciting, especially for people who read comic books, and even the potential for the movie base. I wish DC would get their movie base, since you started talking about movies in the beginning. I wish they would get their movie base down as good as Marvel has, because then a crossover in the movie industry would be great too.
There's so much licensed properties involved in that. I think DC has Warner, Marvel's underneath Disney, and I think if we're doing a live action or a cartoon or some kind of animated, there's all these film things.
I don't know what they're going to do, because again, there's that whole AI thing, and with the way AI is going now, you'll be able to just sit down in front of your computer and tell it, put Wolverine and put the Flash, just any two randoms, and make them go after the chair-faced Chippendale. I don't know if you know who that is,
yeah.
But and it will make an entire 30-minute episode just based off of that prompt.
The problem with that is I think that'd be an individual story for you, and you won't be able to share that experience with anybody. The whole point of the comic book is everything's canon, and it gives reference points to it. I mean, it builds the characters up farther and farther. If you're just getting an individual story just for you, for your purposes that you generate an AI, you're not developing that character any farther. And if you do, it's not going to be canon. The next individual self-serving, I guess you would call, storyline would be just for you. I mean, you won't, it'd be very unentertaining, I think, because it's not the whole point of the comic book world is you can grow with these characters. Like Batman went through all these adventures and it's documented his history. You can look up issue 340 and experience that. And you can talk about with one of your other comic book collectors. And
Yeah, shared experience. That's
right,
that's a big thing. We're becoming so diluted with our media input that you can kind of go anywhere. Somebody had pointed out to me not long ago that growing up there might have been 5 or 6 TV channels, and everybody sat down to watch the one TV show, the same TV show on a Friday night, or they all read the same comic book,
right,
or they all read the same author, and then they all had something to talk about, and they had a perspective that was in common with each other,
right.
and I think we need to go back more on that a
Oh,
little
absolutely.
bit. So it'd be good to see the comic book industry kind of pick up that and make it work. That they're in a position that they could do it
Right.
as long as they can. I know you're in the comic book industry, so yeah, I know sort of the downward spiral it's been in over the last few years. If they can get over that hump and get and push past that,
Right.
then they're in a position to really bring the comic book genre and world back.
I think there will always be a place for comic books, and our sales are not dropping any much more than they have after the COVID spike. So I think that says a lot. I think people are wanting the experience and wanting the comic book. The next generation is going to decide where we're going to go after that. But as long as we hand down our comic books to our kids and the next generation and give them the experience that we had, there's always going to be a place for it. And these single serving AI generated stories, it'd be fun just to have for a moment, but they're not gonna last.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a passing fad or not.
If it's gonna stay canon in the universe that they create for it. So if an AI does create a story, they're gonna say, look, this is part of this adventure, part of the bigger picture, or one off, and it is what it is. And I mean, that's where we're at.
All right. Yeah, I guess. I'm hoping that it's just a passing fad.
We'll see. I mean,
AI has a lot of potential to do a lot of really cool things. I just think in the media industry, I mean, they already have, and we're never going to do this. And I guess you can't say never, never, but we're going to stay a real people, flesh and blood show. Yeah, I don't want to be. I don't want to be an AI. Let me out of the script, but we'll stay a regular show.
the team up is going to be great. The artist for the Deadpool and Batman is going to be Greg Capullo, and Greg Capullo has a huge amount of experience drawing Batman, and he comes from other Batman team up that Batman did with Spawn, and he drew that, and so he's got a lot of credibility underneath his belt. So I think he can create the Batman, or the Deadpool Batman show comic. It's gonna be great, and it's gonna come out in September. So all you out there that want that comic book, go to your local comic book store or Captain's Comics. We'll be happy to order that for you, and get your copy fast because
They'll sell out.
then you're stuck with second prints, third prints, or fourth prints, 10th prints.
Yeah.
Hoof prints.
I think I got a couple comic books that look cool, but they're actually second printings. So I'm right there on that.
it's a thing now. Facsimiles are kind of cool because you can get the first adventure of Batman and you can read it.
We'll get into that controversy one day down the road.
All right. But I'm interested in what our audience thinks. Are they Marvel people? Are they DC people?
That'd be nice to know. Maybe they could comment, and we'll see. We haven't gotten any comments yet. We're only on episode 2, but we do have 87 some odd or 78 some odd views for our first episode, so I think we're doing good.
Or let us know if you're an Elvis person or a Beatles person.
There you go.
I'm
2 questions out there.
I'm interested to see where our fan base is, or our watchers, where they fall in place at.
Well, I definitely like Quentin Tarantino. He's produced some of the best movies out there. I think Grindhouse is one of his movies, and I
Grindhouse is more of like a book that has a Quentin Tarantino chapter in it.
Gotcha.
Robert Rodriguez. Robert
Rodriguez has done a lot of great movies, but one thing I like about Quentin Tarantino's movies is there's always a lot of blood. Usually there's like blood everywhere.
Well, he didn't start out that way. In his first film, Reservoir Dogs, there was a little bit of blood in there, but there was absolutely no violence on screen.
Well, even before that, didn't he just make his get into the business? And I don't know that much about it, but like he was just doing old Shaw Brothers movies, right? He was bringing old Shaw Brothers kung fu movies over from overseas and having them all transcoded to English.
That was after. Before Reservoir Dogs, he was just writing screenplays and working at a Blockbuster or some kind of video rental place. I'm not sure if it was Blockbuster, but he was a video clerk, and he was writing a script to True Romance and Natural Born Killers.
Another great movie.
Both great.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see True Romance, but I've seen Natural Born Killers. And
do yourself a favor. Watch True Romance. It has comic book references in it. The guy has a Amazing Spider-Man 129, and he sells it in the movie to help his girlfriend along.
All right. Well, I wanted to get into some radio stuff today, but deep diving into what's coming up in the comic book world is just as good to me.
I can talk comics all day. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Come to my shop, and if you see me there, strike up a conversation with me, and I'll talk all day.
I'm sure a lot of folks know that. Were you experiencing Did you see the solar stuff, the aurora and all that? Did you get a chance to look at any of that?
No, I missed it. This weekend I went camping with my kids, and I just been playing catch up since then.
Yeah, I need a couple days to recover from your vacation. I know how that can be.
Yeah,
I'm going to be doing that here shortly. Yeah, it's knocked out a whole lot of stuff as far as radio communications. In the hobby, even cell phones were having problems.
Oh wow.
Not as much, but when you get a coronal mass ejection like from the sun that shoots out, it's like a giant space volcano that hits the atmosphere and heats it up. And a lot of times there's a lot of electromagnetic electricity energy that goes with it. Just heating up the atmosphere merges the different layers in the atmosphere together, which is something that us in amateur radio depend on in order to, sometimes we're looking at the D layer, sometimes we're looking at the A layer. Mostly, we're looking at the E, D, F layers.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. The atmospheric conditions affect propagation. And with like Tuesday, propagation was horrible. Nobody was getting anywhere. We had some POTA guys that were going out and trying to do their parks on the air activations. They were having a hard time with that. And there were some workarounds. There's always some workarounds. Beam antennas pointed at each other help. That you can do relays that way, and that'll make it easier for, it's more local communication. You're not talking to Europe that way necessarily, but and there's still digital stuff. Wire, I use Echolink a lot. People use Echolink. We have a bunch of people that check in our the Wednesday night net on Echo Link, and those guys all came in fine. Um, we got a guy who tries to check in from 70 miles away.
Wow.
We have just kind of a basic repeater up here that we use for that, the one that we run that net on. And
When did the biggest flare happen?
that was Tuesday. I want to say that was Tuesday. And that was actually, if I remember reading right, the solar ham guy, I think that I watch his YouTube channel and pay attention to his websites and stuff. He said, I think it was the second largest one we've ever seen. I think it's a 1 to 9 scale, and it registered an 8.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So a scale above that, or, you know, you start talking above that, and we start talking about serious potential for things to get shut down and knocked out. So that now we're past that. So all the bands are opening up. People are talking to each other again.
Right. Does the Sun have their own like weather channel where you can predict some of the stuff?
There is. And there's actually a pretty cool channel, spaceweatherlady.com, I think, or .net. She's I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I believe that's who it is, spaceweatherlady.com. She's awesome. I've checked her out. She's also a ham radio operator, and she has a very in-depth solar weather reports.
So what you're saying is we can predict the sun's weather more accurately than Earth's weather at the moment?
Kinda, sorta. Kinda, sorta.
Because we here in Ohio.
Well, how about it's more like this? We can predict the sun's weather. We could see the sun's weather patterns, and we can predict how they're affecting the Earth more accurately than we could probably predict the Earth's weather patterns.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
All I know is I've been living in Ashtabula County my whole life, and the weather's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it's northeastern Ohio. If you don't like the weather, wait around 5 minutes.
Yep. That's what they say.
So yeah, there's some workarounds out there for when the communications are bad. Instead of using HF like AM or sideband communications, you can use VHF, like 2 meter. That's shorter range, and you can relay with that. The one repeater in Chardon, a good repeater. They are part of like the emergency services network for the area, and they have multiple inputs. So they have listening sites all around at the edges of their county. So their footprint actually goes pretty far. It goes from, I want to say, Greenville, like / Erie, PA, all the way out to Rocky River, Westlake, all the way out that far. I have gotten into that repeater as far south as Akron. I was driving on the highways going southbound, and I had a 40-watt radio, and I got into that repeater as I was driving past the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So cool. Big footprint. People from Canada over the lake, they can check into that repeater too. The repeater that we use, the 146.895 repeater, we get from like Presque Isle to Mentor-ish, and almost I want to say Cortland, almost Ohio, Orwell for sure, down that far. So it's a pretty good repeater, but it doesn't have the range that the other one. Height on a repeater like that is a big help.
Okay.
But hey, we'll talk more radio later. We'll do some deep dive into that probably in the next episode.
All right. So it's kind of interesting because I don't know a whole lot about radios, and I'm learning a lot by listening to you talk. And I was wondering if, since I'm a big movie fan, if there's a movie out there that was made about a bunch of ham radio people.
Okay, so there are movies that have had ham radio in them.
I know one big one that was like a radio flyer that had like an echo from the past.
Okay, so there is a movie called. Okay, so I have to look into that a little more because off the top of my head, I know there's.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah,
there.
you did. You did. So like, there's TV shows like The Munsters, Old Twilight Zones.
Right.
Jeez. That have, well, uh, Tim, Tim, Toolman guy.
Tim
He's
the Tool Man Taylor.
Yeah, he's a radio.
Allen.
Tim Allen. He's a radio operator.
Is he?
Yes, he is. There's
Wow.
tons. In fact, there's a bunch of musicians that are radio operators. There are lots of famous people that are radio operators.
I had no idea.
And there are I won't say there's movies directly about amateur radio, but there's lots of movies that have amateur radio reference in them. So
Okay. So what you're saying is there needs to be a movie made to touch base on all this stuff.
yeah, but you can't call it radio because that movie's already been made.
Oh yeah. Nope.
Yeah, so yeah, but there's a lot of TV shows and movies that have had amateur radio as part of it. Still on my bucket list though is talking to the space shuttle folks. At some point, that's going to happen up in the ISS before it falls out of the sky.
Right.
Those guys just went up there, that new crew. But hey, we'll dive into that more maybe next week.
Okay.
Do some more radio stuff.
So we did something last week, and at the end of the show, we forgot something kind of important.
Yeah, so there's a whole list of people we should probably go down, I guess, to say thank you for helping us get all this stuff started. I want to thank Tom Atler and Brian Stoneman for giving us some photo credit, the logos for some of the photos and the logo that we developed for the show. They need photo credit for that. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate that. Also, my friend Joe over at Cups and Stuff made the signs for us back here.
Thank you.
Nice banner ads for the radio club and for the comic book shop. So thank you guys for that. My friend Dan, who is providing us the space down here by Evergreen Lake Campground, so that we can do the show here. He's a part of that, and this just happens to be adjacent to them. So thank you guys for that. Some of our equipment came from some of the folks from Evergreen Lake, and man, just it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
More important, you know what? I don't know about you, but I need to thank my XYL, my wife, for supporting this project that we've put so much into and time into.
Right.
Because
we spent a lot of time here trying to set this up and trying to troubleshoot everything before it became a problem.
Yeah. All right. I guess we got some announcements to do. Do you got a couple before we get into the end of it?
Not yet. I think I should have some announcements by next week. Some coming up things.
All right, cool. So let me just say this coming Friday is June 6th, and there's going to be an Amish benefit dinner over on Handman's Corners Road, and that's going to be from 4 to 8 p.m., and it's by donation. Best chicken dinners you'll ever have, guaranteed. All homemade stuff. 2,000 pounds of chicken in 3 hours, I guarantee. And but it's awesome the way they cook it, and it goes to help the local Amish community with their medical bills and stuff like that.
Are you gonna be?
I'm going to be there. I'm not gonna. I'm going to be there just to be there. So,
should we bring a camera?
No. Please don't bring cameras.
Oh, Amish
folks. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I respect that about them. So
absolutely.
Hey, we're gonna be the Amigos Radio Club Ashtabula. We're gonna be doing Winter Field Day, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. Oh yeah, Summer Field Day. Sorry, Winter Field Day is more important to me usually, but we're gonna be doing Summer Field Day out at Geneva on the Lake. That's gonna be June 28 and 29. We're gonna be out there all weekend, and it's a setup. We camp out overnight. We'll talk about that next week. I'll get a deep dive into that, and then we'll let you know what's going on with that. And then there's some stuff going on over at Pioneer Picnic, but that's not happening until the last weekend of August. So we'll get into that later.
All right.
Thanks everybody for paying attention to the show. It's just going to get better from here. We're just we're working on it.
And please subscribe. We're gonna be doing this quite a while.
Yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll make sure you get notified as best we can to when our shows are out there.
And definitely have all the Elvis people cue in.
Oh yeah, and one last thing. Thank you, Andrew, our line producer. He's a great guy. You guys will be meeting him pretty soon. That's it.
Bye.